Well, happiness requires concentration throughout life, so we don't have much time. I have 1 hour at my disposal, so let's start, please. I would like to start showing you once again the poster which you saw many times. I want to express my admiration and gratitude for people from Leggendo, Metropolitano, and the artist, unfortunately I don't know his name, the artist who designed this poster, for hitting the bullseye. They just presented on what ground we are when we are speaking about happiness. First you see Virtù and Fortuna, and that arouses probably, like in so many other people, confusion, wondering. Most of us suspect that virtue doesn't have much in common with happiness, that very many happy people that are not known as being virtuous ones. But immediately under this, you have this Virtù showing in one direction and Fortuna in another. That signals on what misty, fuzzy ground, wobbly ground we are when we start discussing the idea of happiness. And I would like to warn you at the very beginning that if you are expecting me to tell you how to achieve happiness, how to get there, you will be very, very sorely disappointed. There will be many more questions in what I'm going to tell you than answers. About happiness, there is only one sentence you can pronounce with 100% certainty, that there will be general universal agreement about it. And that is the sentence, it is better to be happy than to be unhappy. All the rest is contentious. All the rest is contentious. Kant, the great philosopher, one of the greatest ever living, pointed it very nicely already a long time ago, almost 200 years ago, when writing that happiness, concept of happiness, is such an indeterminate one that even though everyone wishes to attain happiness, yet he can never say definitely and consistently what it is that he really wishes and wills. I would say that happiness is a very familiar and very unfamiliar notion at the same time. Everybody knows what does it mean until you ask him or her to define exactly what happiness is. Generally, we are familiar with concept. And for the last 200 years, we are following the statement made by the Declaration of Independence of the United States, where they pronounce every man and woman having the right to pursue happiness. But they didn't fill it with content. I was, when preparing this lecture, I was looking for extremely large number of definition of happiness, which all sorts of counselors, experts, do-it-yourself authors of books formulated just to advise you what to do in order to become happy. And they are tremendously different. One definition is contradicting another one. I suggest to you that in spite of all the differences between definitions, they are essentially two categories into which you can group this variety of definitions. One is a very modern phenomenon. It started from a promise. That's what modern philosophy, modern mindset promises you. Life with less discomfort and inconvenience. Life without worry. What used to be difficult to achieve, what required a lot of effort, physical effort, mental effort, learning, enormous amount of skills, will become easier and easier and easier. We will, in the course of the modern progress, eliminate all elements of discomfort and inconvenience. At the end of the road, what could then be happiness? Some people say that if that really happens, if you really eliminate the discomforts and inconveniences, then what the result will be is not happiness, but boredom. Being bored, having nothing to do, waking up in the morning and not being sure how to fill the coming day. That is the first category. The second category was suggested by the great German romantic poet Wolfgang Goethe. Wolfgang Goethe, when he was already quite an old man, not as old as I am now, but also quite old, was asked by a journalist, did you have, Mr. Goethe, happy life? And he answered, yes, I did. I had a very happy life. But he added immediately, but I cannot remember a single happy week. And that is a message, very powerful message, around which a lot of other definitions of happiness were pronounced, were articulated, inspired by this sort of statement. That means that happiness is not, it does not consist in freedom from troubles, worries, anxieties. But on the contrary, the happiness comes when you overcome the troubles, the anxieties, the difficulties of life. Zygmunt Freud, actually, I think he was inspired by Goethe when he formulated his very famous idea that the state of happiness, continuity of pleasures, is a nightmare. And it is also inconceivable in reality. The happiness is a moment. Happiness is a moment when you overcome some particular unhappiness. For example, if you suffer of a toothache and suddenly, miraculously, it disappears, it goes away, you feel happy. But just imagine yourself if you didn't have the toothache in the first place, but just went to bed, and then you are waking up, and you don't feel any happiness because all teeth are okay, because you don't feel the pain. So actually fighting the difficulties, the discomforts, the inconveniences, the troubles, the threats, or the fears of life, fighting them effectively, trying your skills, trying your ability, that is the road to happiness. Two categories. Make your choice. The trouble with discussing the issue of happiness is that feeling of happiness is ultimately subjective. This is how I feel happy. This is how I explain my moment or my state. If I want to venture that far in the wrong direction, and that is the final statement. There is no point in discussing, well, you are wrong, you are not happy. What do you mean I'm not happy? I am happy, I feel happy. And in this present condition, I am perfectly happy. I don't want to change it. There is no point in trying to prove that there is a necessary connection between a certain state and the feeling of happiness. That is ultimately a personal choice. Well, the title of my lecture given to me was Society and Happiness. So I due to you somehow to explain what is the connection between the two. One thing which is pretty obvious is that society creates all imaginary conditions, possibilities for being happy or unhappy. There is a direct impact of the situation in which we are born, our so-called fate, and the ability to pursue and reach and achieve the happiness. In a little book about art of life, I suggested that there are two both influenced by society factors in drawing itinerary of human life. One is fate. Fate is a common name which we give to all factors on which we have no influence. We have no control over them. For example, whether you were born in Europe and not in Asia, whether you were born in Sardinia and not in Lombardy. That is part of the fate. You have very little influence on it, it is not of your choice. The other factor, which is possibly, not necessarily, but possibly under personal control, is what I call the character. On character you can work. You can try to improve it. You can try to make it somewhat better. But sometimes you succeed, sometimes not. But nevertheless, there is a very close, intimate connection between fate and character, which you can put in the following way. Fate sets the range of options. If you were born in Italy and not in Bangladesh, your set of options is different. There's no question about it. But between these options, which have been set by the fate, it is the character which makes the choices. Altogether, two of them, between themselves, I think draw the itinerary of our lives. You can't predict, of course, how the line will flow, where it would go. You can only retrospectively, writing biography of somebody, try to recreate, restore the connection between these two factors. Well, I already mentioned very briefly that both factors, the fate and the character, are influenced by the kind of society in which we live. Really, that is a very important topic. The question is why people, from the sociological point of view, not psychological but sociological point of view, are happy and how and why they are unhappy. What are the social causes of happiness or unhappiness? Well, quite a number of great philosophers of ethics were concerned with this problem. One of them was Max Scheler, the great German philosopher of ethics, morality, and he pointed out that the problem in our society, he wrote it at the beginning of 20th century, but it is even more true now. What is the problem then and now is confrontation between two different things. There is a modern invention of equality of human beings. We are all equal. And that is what Scheler starts from. It says a relative equality of political and other rights and formally acknowledged social equality go hand in hand with enormous differentiation of the genuine power. So we work on our character, we compare ourselves with other people. We try to find by example, by watching very carefully other people considering their life and being considered by other people as having a successful life. Just take an example from them. The formal, political, and recognized social equality suggests that you have a right to do so, to compare yourself with people around you. We are all equal beings. We all have the right to achieve the same level of happiness. But, Max Scheler continues, enormous differentiation of the genuine power, possessions, and education. A society in which everyone has the right of considering himself equal to everybody else, whom in fact he is unable to equal. Character in conflict with the fate. You believe that you can achieve something, but you stop short of achieving it, and therefore, in a very paradoxical way, but unfortunately very true, very realistic way, pursuit of happiness has a side effect, which is called unhappiness. If you can't achieve it, if it is beyond your reach, the result is a very heavy blow delivered to your self-esteem. 100 years ago, the greatest fear of members of society was that they fall into non-conformism, that they won't perform their social, political duties as they are expected to do, that they will submit themselves to the order that they wouldn't submit themselves completely to the order which is created, promoted, and guarded and sanctioned by society. Today, however, under the present condition, what we have in front of us, what we witness, is that the greatest fear which is haunting all of us is the fear of inadequacy. Inadequacy. We are not adequate to the task. Well, probably I am fool, I'm stupid, I am lazy, I don't strain myself properly, it is my fault. Look, other people who are equal, we are all equal human beings. They use their capacity with much better results than I was able to. Well, that was Buckscheller. Well before him, already in the beginning of 19th century, there was Marquis de Tocqueville, who was sent by French Revolution to America to study the novelty, which was not heard about yet in continental Europe, a novelty which was called democracy. And they wanted to know whether democracy make human life more pleasant, better, more enjoyable. Well, de Tocqueville wrote the book Democracy in America. Every word is still topical today. I advise you to read it if you haven't done it yet. And what he found, that happiness is a quality which ever retreats before people going out of sight. And as it retreats, it beckons them on to pursue. Every instant they think they will catch it. And each time it slips through their fingers. Well, if you remember the Greek mythology, there was a figure called Tantalus. And Tantalus was in very good relations. He was a human being, not a god, but he was in very good relations with God on Olympus. He wine and dine and with them. But at one point he did something wrong and he was punished by God. What was the punishment? Tantalizing, as we are used to say, punishment. Namely, he was very, very thirsty and very hungry. And he was put in the clear stream, but whenever he just lowered his head to drink this fresh water, the water ran away. Over him there was a bunch of extremely appetizing, tasty fruit, but whenever he raised his head, they went up. That is exactly what de Tocqueville describes in about how he described the genuine functioning of this idea of pursuit of interest in unequal society. Well, just to prove it, how close is the kinship between Tantalus' experience and the Tocqueville experience, I will quote him again. They see it, people in America, democratic people in America, saturated with democratic spirit of equality. They see it close enough to know its charms, but they do not get near enough to enjoy it. And they will be dead before they have fully relished its delights. This is the reason for the strange melancholy often haunting inhabitants of democracies. Why democracies? Because they live in the midst of abundance and of that disgust with life sometimes gripping them in calm and easy circumstance. Confrontation with the enormous range of possibilities open to all of us, with the realities of very limited control over one's fate, lacking resources, lacking skills, lacking determination, sometimes a genuine fault of character, but sometimes simply external circumstances which doesn't allow, creates a state of unhappiness. A torment, blow to self-esteem. I am not worthy. I am not the right kind of chap. I can't do what other people do. Well, when I was a student many years ago, this sort of feeling was described in terms of relative discrimination. The idea was that people don't feel envy with people tremendously rich, very, very, very high above their own level. They don't compare themselves with them. They are limited to their own setting, to their own eco-top. But they look around. They look around. They look at their neighbors. They look at their workmates. And if they see that some other workers in another factory, workers of the same standard of skills, got a rise in wages, but they were refused, they rebelled, they went on strike. That was a relative deprivation of deprivation when compared with people assumed to be equal to them. But that was 100 years ago. Today, my dear ladies and gentlemen, we all have internet, you all have iPhones, you can look into other people's lives, and you are forced to look quite often into the lives of celebrities, fashionable in the floodlights, probably quite rich people as well, who can do wasteful purchases. They are actually living like that. That is the kind of a pattern of life which very many means of mass communication advise us to adopt. How you can briefly describe that way of life? Well, to buy for the money you haven't earned, things which you don't need in order to make impression that will not last on people about you don't care. Now that's roughly the logic. So, and there is virtually no limit. There are no walls, no insuperable obstacles to embrace in your life all kinds of style of life. There is tremendous choice allegedly there, allegedly open, but in fact tempting, seducing. You compare yourself with everybody around, which means, and that is very pessimistic information I wanted to convey you, that in fact the happiness is not so much in arriving, because that is virtually inaccessible, above every level of happiness you already achieved. There is even higher one. So not in arrival, but actually in a running. Running there, trying to reach it, trying to improve on the life around you and your own including. Now that is the condition of contemporary happiness. On the margin, I would like to remark the chances of achieving fullness of happiness, full satisfaction of your desires, of your dreams, is made tremendously difficult by the policy of the contemporary economy. We are living not in society of producers, we are living in society of consumers. And in society of consumers, the idea of a happy customer, contrary to all advertisement. Well, advertisement tell you, we want to make you happy. But contrary to this advertisement, the happy consumer is a catastrophe for consumerist market. Because he will simply stop going to shops. I am happy, what for? What for? Why should I strain myself? That's enough is enough. I achieved what I wanted, that's the end of the story. The real function of consumerist market is arouse your dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction creates desire. You want something better. You want to, a year ago, you threw away your iPhone 5 in order to replace it with iPhone 6. I can predict it quite safely that in another year you throw away your cherished iPhone 6 in order to buy iPhone 7. Now, that is what actually is happening. Never end of the very tortuous, very arduous, very tiring conflict. Well, that is the general picture, but I would like now to pass to what I consider to be the tremendously important quandary which we are all facing, which causes quite a lot of contemporary unhappiness. Fears, worries, nightmares. That is the problem of loneliness. I suggest to you, I know that I am speaking to Italians. In Italy, you are lucky people, really, because your family ties and neighborhood ties are, by comparison with the rest of Europe, incredibly stronger. So you don't feel the fear of being lonely in such strong way as it happens elsewhere. Take a country which is even better off than Italy is, Sweden. The income is higher than here. People are provided with more shopping opportunities, with more possessions. And what is happening there? 68% of residents of Stockholm live in one-person household, which means they are lonely. They are just alone. No other person to share in their life. 40% of Swedes asked in the social investigation answered that they feel lonely. They feel lonely. 28% extra were lonely without knowing, without acknowledging that they are. In the same country, that's very indicative occurrence, in the same country, in the last year, consumption of antidepressant rose by 25%. So many people are living in depression. Lonely causes depression. Tony Jetton Celibis published a book a few weeks ago. I wholeheartedly recommend it to read to you. It is called Loneliness, the Virus of the Modern Age. The Virus of the Modern Age. It's a very well-researched book, and spells out in very great detail how this virus, poisonous virus, disease-causing virus works. As you know, probably that on bacteria, which also create illnesses, pharmaceutical companies make a lot of money. On viruses, of loneliness. The so-called social websites make tremendous income. Mark Zuckerberg, inventor and owner of Facebook, made his dozens of billions of dollars on the stock exchange, capitalizing precisely on that, on the fear of being abandoned, of being left alone, of not having friendly people around you, friends on which you can rely in case of necessity, and simply to feel the nearness, intimate nearness of another human being. People were afraid of becoming lonely. They already felt lonely, but they were afraid that this situation will go deeper and deeper. And Mark Zuckerberg spotted this need. That's his genius. One good idea you can make, you see, dozens of billions of dollars on stock exchange. The Facebook gave you the opportunity. Never again alone. Really, just think about it. At this very moment and every other moment, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there is somebody somewhere to whom you can tweet or send a message or even receive a message. So you never really feel abandoned. You never feel abandoned. You can maximize your number of friends if you dedicate enough time to your computer, to your laptop, to your tablet, to your iPhone. Then you can multiply the number of members of your network. But are they the same friends, which we normally, the same kind of friends, which we normally think of when we speak about friendship? Well, we are, I admit, tremendously sensitive to the issue of friendship and love. But this tremendous sensitivity, the amount of place which it occupies in our thinking about the world, about our life plans and so on, is itself a sign that there is something wrong with that. That this substitute, replacement of the real friendship with the social websites leaves you with the deep feeling of dissatisfaction. You can't compare dating made for one night stand on the internet dating agencies with the wonders, charms of a genuine love and all the difficulties, all the obstacles which making another person love you and develop, create permanent love relationship are absent from it. It is done in the name of comfort and absence of inconvenience. A real love, I hope that everyone here has some experience in really loving and being loved. Love is not necessarily a recipe of continuous happiness. It is full of ambushes. It has a lot of quarrels, conflicts, antagonism arising, and so on. But nevertheless, it is part of the charm, part of the need of that precisely, of doing love, I would say, the hard way, not going on shortcuts, not looking for easy exit from very complicated issue which you confront. We need human company. We need human company, but real human company. Real human company, well, difficult it is to explain the difference between genuine, real human company and the illusion of human company which is created by the Facebook. But the real trouble here is that getting used to the way of making friends, counting them, multiplying their number, being engaged in that, being engrossed in this sort of activity, leaves you very little time to acquire social skills which are needed to negotiate your partnership, your cohabitation with another real, full human being. Ever-growing proportion of our contemporaries were born in the world, already born in the world which contained computers and the internet. They hardly can imagine the possibility of a world without computer. How could you live before mobile telephone was invented? Because mobile telephone is part of my personality very much in the same way as my trousers are. If I forget at home my mobile telephone, I'll go to the street, I will feel like I forgot my trousers. I can't live without it. That is tremendously important part of our life. It gives you unprecedented freedom. You can be in a company without suffering constraints which being in a company imposes on you. You probably saw it many times in your life. You go to a restaurant, a family comes to the restaurant, 4 people, 2 parents, 2 children, and 4 mobile telephones. And each one, of course, looks not so much at pop and mom, but at their screens. Now, that is already part of our preparation for life. That is how we calculate our moves, our way of life, our style of living. And that is the side effect which I admit to you is, from my point of view, the most worrying. Why? Because our life is not confined to online pastime. It is divided into 2 parts. There is online part of life and offline part of life. You can't avoid offline part of life. When you go for a walk to a street, you encounter quite a number of not friends, strangers, who are involving you in some encounter. They may buttonhole you, they may ask you a question, they may engage you in some sort of a conversation in order to either settle one of their businesses or simply in order to be friendly. But it is heart-rendering pastime if you don't know the skills of dialogue, which you failed to learn in the online part of your life. That is walk along the street. But then you go to your workplace. And again, there are people with different views, different preferences, different ideas about life, different beliefs, different religion, different skin color, in very, very many ways different. People with whom you contact on internet, on Facebook, are very carefully selected. People who do not fit, people who are not fit to become members of your network are simply uninvited or eliminated. Not so in your workplace, not so in the school to which you send your children. There's children coming from all sorts of families. So you can't avoid so far the offline part of your life. If you see the consequences, however, of fantasy coming true, of a world in which really the offline part, the difficult one, the requiring a lot of skills, a lot of determination, energy, self-sacrifice, and so on, was completely eliminated. That is, I have in mind, Michel Houellebecq book, a French novel writer. Book is called The Possibility of an Island. It is shown people, the neo-humans, they are called in the books, which are completely isolated from other human beings. They contact them only by World Wide Web. I won't describe the horrors of this world. I very much hope that you will reach for the book and read it, just as a warning, just as a warning. Well, I would like to finish quoting this time from a person well known to you, the great scientist and great novel writer and the great essayist. I call him the last erudite of the era when erudition is taken over by computers. I mean Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco, in one of his essays, wrote the following, which I want to leave you considering. He formulated what he called fundamental condition of being human. Fundamental condition of being human. You won't be surprised when I tell you the secret. The fundamental condition of being human is the presence of another human. And Eco explains why it is so. It is his look, the other human, that defines and forms us. Just as we cannot live without eating and sleeping, we cannot understand who we are without the look and response of the other. Even the result of living in a community in which everyone has decided systematically never to look at us, treating us as if we did not exist, would be madness of death, or death. The alternative to being with other humans and allowing them, not hiding in front of them, allowing them to look at us, recognize us, estimate us, evaluate us. The alternative is, in Eco words, a sort of bestial and solitary Adam who still knows nothing of sexual relations, the pleasures of dialogue, love for his offspring, or the pain of losing the loved one. As Aristotle, more than 2,000 years before Umberto Eco said, he observed that only angels and beasts can live outside polis. Polis means community, means the physical, the fleshy presence of other human beings. Only angels and beasts. And unfortunately, we are not angels. I don't know about you, I am not. And as far as beasts are concerned, we don't want to be them. So really, we have no choice. And I think that if you are considering here at this conference the idea of the present state and future of happiness, we must remember, among other things, this one tremendously important. I would shorthand describe this problem as happiness begins at home, not at the internet, at home, in contact with other people, in really quarreling with them, not just, giving each other kisses, that is easy part, but really debating, negotiating, quarreling, trying to understand each other's motives. Now here is where happiness begins. Unless it starts from here, I don't have it has much chances in contemporary society. Thank you.